I'd like to open by offering 5 minutes of philosophical provocation from a work in progress about time and technology. So if you, I don't have slides, by the way, just me. If you consider our place in the history of the universe, it's easy to see humans as an insignificant temporal speck. So there's a famous analogy that illustrates this by telling the story of our planet's history as the 24 hours of a day. You start at midnight and about 4 hours later, roughly, the first life appears. At 9 in the morning, we maybe get some photosynthesis, things around the seas. It's not until 10 p.m. in the evening that you get footprints on land. At 11 o'clock in the evening, we get dinosaurs. They hang around for 40 minutes, then they vanish. Fifth mass extinction, something semi-human has appeared for about 1 minute, recorded history for about a tenth of a second. So this is a great story for puncturing human hubris. We're tiny. But looked at another way, it also emphasizes something very different. Life took a long time to get going and even longer to start doing complex things. But once it did, everything changed. And the most remarkable things of all have happened in a cosmic eye blink, thanks to us. In other words, linear time is a very poor model for long-term thinking. The development of life has always been uneven. Long periods of stability, relative equilibria, punctuated by explosive growth and crisis. But even by these criteria, we have introduced something exponential into the equations of planetary time. We've introduced technology. But what happens if we flip things around and ask what history looks like from the perspective of technology? Now, so far as tech is concerned, most of our planet's history saw no time passing at all. 4 billion years were just an eye blink, and the last few centuries loom astonishingly large. Now, futurists like Ray Kurzweil and slightly less enthusiastic others have spent the best part of 20 years pointing out that each of the last 2 years has seen as much progress in computing terms as all of history to that point. And this is true for the next 2 years and the next and the next. And being tech people, you may have encountered analyses like this so often they feel overfamiliar. But I think we can recapture something of their shock and strangeness by noting that from the perspective of technology, humans have been getting exponentially slower every year for the last half century. In the realm of software, there is more and more time. And outside it, every human second takes longer to creep past. We are out of joint with our times in a fundamental sense. And this is reflected in a defining myth of the digital age, that of the singularity, a technological point of no return, beyond which it's argued the evolution of technology is going to cut us permanently out of the loop. Now, how should we think about this? Well, my suggestion is that, like most myths, the least interesting thing we can do with this story is take it literally. Instead, its force lies in the expression of a truth that we're all living, that our planet's potential tragedy is the sheer scale of the mismatch between the impact of our creations and our capacity collectively to comprehend and control them. And the lesson I want to draw from this is exactly the opposite of Kurzweil's, that technology can't dissolve our current challenges, it can't save us from ourselves, but it may, if we can embrace and interrogate it as an integral aspect of our humanity, it may allow us to inhabit this world in a new way, one informed by new forms of collective knowledge about ourselves and the systems that sustain us, one that can accept and embrace our evolutionary history rather than building fantasies of escape from biology. So what does this entail? Technology touches everything we do, everything we believe ourselves to be, and yet I'd suggest that many of the most influential stories through which we seek to understand it are told from the wrong angle, as if it were somehow unnatural or optional, distinct from our societies and natures, as if we're locked in an existential struggle with machines when it comes to everything from work and leisure to love and survival, and as if technology's progress must define our own. Now, none of this is true and much of it's harmful. We can't separate ourselves from technology because it's been evolving with us since before the beginning. There's no such thing as human nature in the absence of technology. And there's no such thing as a neutral tool untouched by human designs and desires. So where are we? Well, within just a handful of generations, more will come to pass in planetary terms than in all of the millennia that brought us here. How far we can comprehend and control this is our defining challenge. And I want to leave you with a thought that it begins by rejecting the fantasy that technology can ever offer us an exit from biology or nature. We have less time than ever, but more that we can accomplish. Thank you very much.